Being 5:15, I'd like to call the finance personnel meeting to order. Everyone please rise for the pledge of allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Can I get a motion to approve the agenda?
Second.
Motion's been made by Mike, seconded by Bob. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. First on the agenda is consider offer to purchase request by Andrew and Tracy Johnson of 201 South Pearl Street. Jeff?
So in your package, you'll see a WP-15 commercial offer purchase letter. Those of you probably weren't around at the time. Several years ago, the city entered into the lease agreement with Johnson for Gilbert Barbershop, which they and in that lease agreement, during the term of the lease, anytime in that term, they can make an offer to purchase $50,000 for the building. Doing that because the lease comes up this summer. So what you see in your packet is an offer to purchase the building for $50,000. Send us the road, send everything was something up. The council,
At one time, I thought we were considering trying to build that building for development for the whole area. Yeah.
Can't. You can't.
Yeah, I wasn't involved at the time. But yes, but I do have a lease here.
Okay, I mean, if that's the way we stated it, fine.
It must have been agreed upon at that time. Set up this.
They paid us rent every year for years. That's all.
I think we just
You are correct.
come up with what we thought the government was at
So that's a figure that we came up with in the past. It's not something that they just came to us and what they wanted to know. I actually got the lease agreement here. This is the lease agreement, this is the agreement that we entered in 2017. They're in the terms of lease, for any extension, for less than the exercise rate for this property. Sale price, $50,000.
That for folks that were here, that were talked about at that time, where they put a substantial amount of money into the building. At the time, it was a cash drain in the city. The city was spending a lot of money. Pretty much got it because I know they came forward and put a lot of money into it to get it to where it is now. And so, and with the agreement that they paid the lease for that many years, at such point, then they would have the option to buy it for that.
2017, so that's what I was looking for. That actually was since 2017, and they have been paying us $400. I think it started lesser than that, but I can tell you today that was correct.
Yeah, there was a period in there that was less because we were.
Oh, that's up to you.
Back then, we were still working with the gentleman. We didn't know what was going to happen.
Now, Ryan, we really can't do it in both.
We come to $24,000. Look at it.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, I need a motion.
Also moved to accept that.
I'll second that.
Motion been made by Mike, seconded by John. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Next, we need the approval of an agreement with Cedar Court to update the city of New Orleans comprehensive plan. Chet?
In your agreement, or your packet, there is the agreement with Cedar Corp to work on the next phase of the Untitled comprehensive plan that is required by statute to update the plan every 10 years. So we're working on that right now. We did the first section, which is a big section, which was chapter 8. We did that last year. And now this second phase is the bulk, the remaining of the comprehensive plan, which we had to wait a little bit because they wanted to wait until they got the census data back before they could really put a lot of the good numbers into our comprehensive plan. But this is just to continue the process, updating our comprehensive plan, again, required by state statute.
I'd make a motion that we approve the agreement with Cedar Corporation.
Second. Motion's been made by Bob, seconded by Tim. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Next up is discussion on employee compensation and recruitment retention planning. Chad?
So as we kind of talked about before, we're up for our next round of compensation, the city's compensation plan. We all know the market today and how important this is, more than it's been probably for the last 15, 20 years. So I just wanted to have a general discussion of where we're going to go moving forward. A little history for those of you who are new. The past 3 times, which has been on 5-year increments, starting in 2000, I look back to at least 2008, the city hired consultants to do these compensation studies. And those of you who have been on council for a while remember that. So we've done this in 2008, 2013, and 2017. So we started having some internal discussions. Where are we going to go with this? And we kind of talked about the results of the plans in the past, and and I haven't read through each plan word for word yet, but there's quite a bit of information in here showing that back in 2008, for example, I mean, there was information in here showing that, for example, out of the 19 main positions that were identified in this plan, which, a street operator is one position. Obviously, there's more bodies in that position, but that would be considered one position. In 2008, it showed that there were 13 positions below market or significantly below market. 11 of those were in the significantly below market, 1 at market, and 2 above market. And I kind of noticed that in the other plans as well. But, since these plans have come out, they keep on showing that, our staff has been below market or significantly below market for quite a few of these positions. But we really haven't had the ability, because the city didn't have the budgets for the last how many years to do anything about it. So, it's been a process that we've been hiring these consultants to go ahead and do these compensation studies, but we really haven't been able to do anything about it. So we talked about it internally to see where we wanted to go. A lot of Judy, myself, Chief, the mayor was there, I believe Dave was there, and Christine Library, the ones that are kind of in charge of their different commissions or the city here. And we talked about, well, can we do something in-house that's a little bit, not spend, I think I saw we spent anywhere from $10,000 to $16,000 on the last 3 studies. Can we do something in-house and come up with something that's going to be a little bit more attainable, especially now with the way the market is today? I don't have the layout of how this would go yet. We would want to talk about internally where things would go, but instead of hiring a consultant, we're kind of kicking around the idea, just trying to do something in-house. We might have to stage this, that we do different positions in different years, depending on how this all lays out, to really get these positions at market so we're competitive. We all know how important these positions are. Finance director is super important. The clerk with elections super important. Our building inspector, we need quality employees at these positions because they are very high level. They're high level services, police department, and everything that we have. We need people who, we don't create widgets. We have services, and we need high level people and quality people for those positions. We just lost one of our street operators, a good guy, I'll call him a kid, younger than me, good kid. Just lost him. He got an offer for $80,000 plus.
we're gonna see this more and more, and if we don't get our butt in gear and be competitive, we're gonna be hurting even more than what we are today. So kind of wanted to kick that around to you guys, and I also want to look at, not only the compensation, but what can we do to really for a recruitment and retention plan, and we want to come up with different non-monetary items that are not going to cost the city money to really encourage people to come here, encourage people to stay here through their retirement. So just wanted to kind of kick that around to you guys, what you guys thought about, instead of going out to contract, trying to do something in-house. I don't have all the answers yet. We've got a lot of work internally to do yet.
I'd like to echo a little bit what Chad said. We all met, and this has been kicked around for several years on contracting out. We get kind of the same bag of results back, and nothing ever gets done about it. And honestly, I think it's been a lot of waste of money if we're doing all that and not moving forward with it. So, it was a lot of good discussion. So.
And Judy and Chief, I don't know if you guys want to pipe in, feel free. With more conversation.
I guess one of the things that, being the finance director and understanding where our city sits financially, that I like to bring to and discuss and talk about, is things that we can maybe think about that we could do for employees that don't cost any money. So we've kicked around a number of things. And like Chad said, we're just kind of in the preliminary stages of what can we do and for the employees. We can't be in Appleton. We can't pay those kind of wages. We wouldn't have any road construction going on. So we have to be also coherent or, cognizant of the fact that we're a 7,000 community and working class individuals here. From my end, I think I've come up with a couple ideas to be able to do that and not cause such big spikes within our operational budget.
Ms. Grantor?
Yeah, we kind of do it on the utility board ourselves. It's a lot of work, I know. Somebody's gonna have to do it. What we get is they go out and they compare us to other cities and they show us so that we can actually see it. You know what I mean? And I think that helps, and then we kind of make the decision. Okay, this is what we have to do. But I think it would be nice if we could see like a spreadsheet or something so that we can really see some of these differences.
That is a preliminary plan.
Yeah, I mean,
They will go out and get the
yeah,
information.
let's just, we should be able to use the same thing like you do for park. You do for summer help.
Everything else for lifeguards. You got to look at what everybody else is paying to see if they want to stay here. Otherwise, we lose them all. I would think they could use that as a,
Guess the main focus that you're looking for is, are we gonna be okay with doing it internally instead of hiring somebody else? Do we feel that we can do this successfully within ourselves instead of spending the money of outsourcing it?
Yeah.
So right now, are you having consulting every year?
Every 5 years.
Every time?
So it's in the ordinance that every 4 to 5 years that we're supposed to be doing a compensation study. So last one was done 2008, 2013, 2017. So it's been a 5-year location.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but we've had that done a couple of times with those results, sorry, not results, but
Further action?
I've looked through these and I keep on seeing that we're below market, we're below market, we're below market. We're not getting up to market. It's been a struggle to get up to market because we're a community of 7,000. But like I said, even especially in today's market with the competition with things, we've got very important positions, and we don't have the depth that bigger communities have of assistant people behind people. We've got one person doing positions, and they're very important.
So just look at the director of public works. How hard has it been to fill that job?
Exactly.
And that's been open for how long?
We went the first round in October. We had 8 applicants. 1 was qualified. You guys know we interviewed him and didn't feel like he was the right one. So this next round we had 4 applicants. We're down to 1. I won't give you the other three, but it ended up, we only had one person that we ended up interviewing. Considering that person for the position, but more applicants for. Correct, John? That's the-
Yeah, it was a really difficult for all of us to wrap our brain around. Because when I applied for this, and I talked about this, I applied for this position here. 117 people. The job, it wasn't the finance director position at that time. That's only people applying. That 28 years ago. It's just such a completely different market. There's headhunters out today. You'll get a phone call. You just come and work for us. You know, I've heard you've been with the city for X amount of years and you must be a great employee because you're still with them. And they will offer you $20,000, $30,000 to walk out on your employer today. It is real and it is happening. I have a hard time, understanding it either. There just is not, there's less people than there are positions open. It's just the reality of it.
With that said, the people that all met together, and Judy and Chief Chad, and our chair, that we feel that we could do this in turn. We came up with a lot of great ideas, and a lot of good game plans that we feel that we can move forward. And not be at stalemate. I mean, small things. I have a grease board in there and I write down goals for the city and a wish list for the city. Something monetary and non-monetary thoughts of somewhere it was said that no annual boat launch for employees. And that's something that's small that is helpful for retention. But no, I didn't look at it at that point in time, but all of a sudden I was looking at them and, oh, that's a good employee retention. Not everybody uses it, but at the end of the day, it's something small that can still tag to a new employee or a current employee that's a benefit to me.
We offer them like asset fitness and a lot of things.
We have a wellness benefit. So that's to encourage employees to work out, be active, and be healthy, because we know that there's been tons of, studies and research, and corporations know the healthier your employees are, the less the insurance rates are. So that's a direct benefit to the city financially as well, if we keep our employees healthy. But yes, we do have a wellness benefit.
Things like Mayor Mark said, maybe priority in renting a facility. An employee's son or daughter's getting married, and they want to have
Shelter. There's a lot of things, yeah, we could do. I'm not the same page with you there. I don't know, I think we've spent $20,000 on each consultants to come and just basically call. To me, all they've ever done for years is call the other communities, which we can do. We probably are better home lines in other communities. And do it in-house, that's $15,000 towards giving employees something. Bonus or something. Every time you save some money, or an employee comes up with a good idea that saves the city money, we have that. Give them companies like Steel King or something. If you save the company money or you come up with a good idea, you're compensated for that. Things like that. We should definitely agree with them about.
So are your hands tied at all to these consultants? I mean, is there any reason you can't do it internally as of now with, having the consultants? I mean, you could still do that. So basically what you're asking is that we get rid of the consulting because it's a waste of money.
We wouldn't hire a consultant for this round, so it'd be a matter of doing it in-house. So I think the conversation right now is just to see, do you guys like this approach? Do you like this, the way we're gonna go with this? And there's pros and cons. Number one, having somebody farm it out, then, I mean, we know how busy we are already. That's just one more thing we're gonna try to do internally. you know, so farming it out, there's less work on our end, you know. Is there something to be said by a third party presenting it rather than a city employee presenting it? I mean, if we can present factual data enough, I think we can prove that, yes, you know, this is what you're seeing for comparisons, you know. So basically what we're looking at right now is if, you know, and feedback from you guys, do you guys like the approach to trying to do something in-house and then coming up with the extra ideas to be, you know, competitive with the market to try to attract and retain our employees? Because we all know that if there's and employees today, especially the younger generation, I'm not trying to be, you know, derogatory or anything, but how many times do we hear that the younger generation, they change jobs within a couple of years, they keep on jumping around, and that costs a city or a business big bucks when you're constantly training a new employee. Just think of the city clerk or finance director or a building inspector. If you got a new person every 2 years, I'll say the building inspector, I mean, how many ordinances do you have to know? It takes you a long time to learn all that zoning code and the flavor of that community. Having someone there for 10, 15, 20 years saves money big time, so.
I think another issue too that's going to rise out of it is the younger ones want to see the money, where the older ones don't see the benefits of these fringe benefits. I know when I was working, sitting at union meetings and the guys were talking about they want to put this money into retirement. I'm thinking, bullshit, I want it on my paycheck. I don't want to see it in retirement. And then after you're there a little bit and your head starts working, you're thinking, you know, but where they change jobs all the time, will the fringe benefits help them? So I think that's going to be a problem there is the money, because the younger generations like to see the money in hand. So I think that's going to be a challenge there.
Well, and that's a marketing thing for us too. I mean, if we got a good compensation package, we need to promote it. I mean, and
Yeah.
show them, yeah, I mean, with this retirement package and their health insurance and, you know, whatever else. I mean, if you just throw a wage number out there, yeah, they're going to look at the wages, but if you kind of really promote that other stuff and show how much of a financial benefit that is too, that's on us.
I think one of the thought processes that have come up already have been trying to target exactly that. Paying possibly, you know, looking at 5 years and giving some kind of incentive so that if somebody's going to leave in that 4th year, they might think twice. Because in year 5, there's a, you know, a little bit of incentive, and then maybe year 10, a little bit more. So it just gives that employee a thought about, do I really want to leave? Because I've worked already, you know, 3/4 of my way to that bonus or to that, whatever it is. I think those are the kind of carrots you gotta think about as you're working through the process, so. And then another thing to keep in mind is we have to move because we budget, you know, we all sit down and budget starting in, I already sent that out in June. So we have to provide our department heads with that information. I could do a placeholder, come up with some kind of dollar amount and we can distribute it closer, but we still have to come up with some.
It's go time. So if you guys are good with that approach, I mean, that's kind of what we want some feedback from you guys, make sure everybody's good with that.
I think you should say in-house. Spending even if it's $1, going out to hire somebody else. That little bit of money in someone's pocket or some kind of benefit. Won't work.
I heard that from the last studies. I heard employees grumble, we were spending this much more money for employees and yet they're like, nothing. And I didn't get anything out of it, right?
And they get interviewed by these outside people that really like value them like we do. And I totally think this should be an ongoing discussion every month. So we set times of the essence, but keep it in house and come up with some ideas when you're refresh. Email to the mayor or Chad. You think of some of that. I know one thing that folks I really talk to a lot that work in the city. I think it would go a long way to ask them, do you think you have the right tools to do the job? You know, are we nitpicking? Are we giving them an old grade that shoots them a slipper every time they use it?
I think we gotta talk to them and see what's something about, what's the worst part about your job and address it. Is it that lawnmower, my back gets a crook in it? Is it? I don't want to deal with people complaining to me about X, Y, or Z when it's not really my job. It should be to the, those kind of things go a long way in private sector. Reach out to them, Survey Monkey wise or something, but if it's coming from us internally versus we're paying bar services to interview our employees, which they're not even gonna get that honest answer. I know what do you like about the job? What do you not like?
That's
Something you could like not have to deal with every day. What is it?
Yeah.
And then work on that. That helps in longevity too.
I was gonna say, that's a good longevity retention.
Yeah.
idea.
I was just wondering, is there any kind of journeyman process, apprentice process where you can get somebody that doesn't exactly have the certificate for that position, that you can groom them and start them off at an entry level wage and bring into those roles, because I know there's a lot of people that don't have that college education, but are ambitious and would pursue it if they, were offered the opportunity.
Yes, and a lot of just thinking about the treatment plant certifications they need, I mean, they can do that in-house. Ben has been doing that, with the DNR, and they send them training. It all depends on the job. Chief, I don't know if you want to talk about officers and how you can.
Yeah, we do a little bit of that. We try to hire a community service officer each summer, which is typically someone that's in the law enforcement program, maybe at Fox Valley Tech or something right now. And we've actually hired, I think, 2 CSOs as full-time officers. And, it's been a good program because it gives us an opportunity to see that person for about a 3-month interview for free. And then get them prepared and maybe get them excited to work with our PD, get them indoors where they can actually meet our people and meet them, see if they can fit into our community, fit into our department. And so we've done some of that stuff like that. So that's worked out pretty good. We've also hired part-time dispatcher now. Jeremy Moore is one of our part-time dispatchers. It's now one of our law enforcement officers. So we've done some entry-level stuff like that that's worked out quite well for us with officers. So things like that we look at.
There's been moving up. I mean, obviously, like down at the wastewater treatment plant, Ben was an operator, moved up to head operator. Luke was on the crew, the street operator. Now he's the superintendent down there. Ginger was the direct supervisor. Now she's the park rec director. So there's been that progression internally. Some of the stuff. The public works director that we're looking at. We definitely use some training if we vote this candidate in the UW. There's plenty of UW Madison campus classes that are for transportation and road reconstruction. There's one that I took was engineering for the non-engineer, engineering fundamentals for non-engineer. So yeah, there's definitely internal training for the center.
One thing that we have seen by us is some of our summer help have become full-time employees. Keep them around to the college, maybe get a kid that's, I'd really like to do this job or that job. Got, I think 3 or 4 that went through all the way through college, summer help, and now they're full-time employee.
I can think of Jim Clark. He started down in the pool.
Yeah.
Now he's managing the pool. The individual I said that we just lost, he started as a summer laborer, moved into the street department. We just lost him, but yeah. That too.
Also, I think we look at Chad, Judy, myself. Start at the bottom. We can't
That's okay. And we took them on full time. A lot to know. Our office, we say it's about 5 years before you begin to understand up here what exactly is going on in our office.
Experience everything.
Correct. Where you can actually grab a hold and say, oh, we should be doing this and not this. It is a big learning process. It's the public, so yeah.
Did that answer your question?
Yeah.
I guess, the, I have a question is that, do we have to change an ordinance? Because you're supposed to have a review every 5 years?
Ordinance is not saying you have one, so.
Review that.
Really haven't thought about that or talked about that yet. Because we do like to, when you present something that takes this long, you do like at least a couple, 5 years in there, because it is such a big job. But when you present, you say, this is what it looks like, and this is what we anticipate over the next 5 years. And you give some kind of direction, although it is brought back up during budget time, so it's not like you never visit it again. But there's direction for like, you can cut probably a year off that, but you want to keep it out 4 and 5 years so that you're not continuously working. I think that's what.
We were interested in inflation, what CPI is going to be, and we really want to watch what goes on around us too, because it's going to be like one of these kind of things this year.
7 now.
Yeah. So we need to be thinking about that just as a baseline, not to mention all the other things.
And Dave and I are going to that TD conference, that talent development conference by Workforce Development. And the big thing is going to be, and everything they're talking about is the workforce shortage, what people are going to do about it. So maybe we can find something back of that too. Dave's going to take the notes for that.
Just gonna forget my pen.
Bring your business cards, because a lot of times if you presenter will share the PowerPoint presentation and whatnot with you, and save you a lot of note taking, but they're there to help. And they're there.
All agree with that? Okay. I'll need a motion moving to closed session for following statutory exemptions. 19-85 1E. Liberate or negotiate the purchasing of public properties, the investing of public funds, or conducting other specified business. Neither competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session. Motion been made by Mike, seconded by Bob. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We're now in closed session.
Everybody that you want in here and gone.
I didn't know if the chief would stay or not.
No, he was going to bow out.
You have us off camera, Chad.
What's that?
Do you have us off camera?
Not yet. All right, for those online, we are back in open session.
I'll go ahead and make a motion to hire Quarles and Brady to developer agreement for the city.
Second.
Motion's been made by Tim, seconded by Bob, to consider approval of agreement to hire Quarles and Brady to assist the city in creating a developers agreement. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Alright, Finance Director's monthly reports. Judy?
All right. We are currently in the month of February for our monthly reports. And we are looking at the expenditure report to start with. I'll make this a little bigger so we can all see it. Maybe even a little bigger. So if you take that in a percentage, we should be around 16, even number 17%. We're at about 20%. And the reason for that is we pay insurance. There's things that we pay upfront in a calendar year versus at the end. The biggest one of that is insurance. As we all know, when you pay your insurance bill, that's for the entire year. So we actually have those payments due January 1st. Usually whatever our first payroll, our first packet is that month, we go ahead and make all of our insurance payments. Another thing that we usually purchase earlier in the year, if we can, is equipment. We've had a more and more difficult time purchasing equipment. But those purchases usually come at the beginning of the year versus the end of the year. And then our debt service, we have had a number of payments already early in the year because we do have influx of cash, our revenue at this time with tax collection. So we try to mimic debt service payments when we are highest in influx in cash. We know when those times are throughout the year. So we make our debt payments during those cash flow times. I'm gonna make that a little smaller because it's actually off the page. So at this time, I don't see any concern. I will let you know that I do run through the expenditures, and quite a few department heads receiving an email from me concerning heating bills and gasoline. As we know in our own life, these two items in particular have our gas, I believe, has went up 60%. And heating, I think both of them are about this, heating maybe 60% and gas about 50%. We did budget for $4 a gallon, I believe is what we did do. I remember Mr. Bissau saying, "Are you sure that's enough?" And I was thinking, okay. So a lot of the departments didn't drop down their gasoline expenditures from 21 into 22. So I'm hoping that we kept it high enough that we're going to be okay, but I just wanted them to be cognizant of the fact that it looks like they're trying to do some relief with tax or with gas and tax and things of that nature. I don't know how that is. I think you're gonna get yourself in trouble in other areas, but we will see how this works out. I think they had said at some point that it may go up to $5 is what they were thinking, and then maybe level off. But yeah, again, I don't control those things, so all I can do is sit at home and worry about how my budget's gonna all I can do is visit with the department heads, and we can talk about it and keep ourselves cognizant of the fact that heating now should level off, and then we'll go back at it in like September, October time. So just so we're all keeping an eye on those things, and I know you guys think about those too. So at this point, I don't see that we're going to have any issues, but as I said, we'll continue talking about that as we go through the year and keeping an eye on it. Does anyone have any questions on any other expenditure item or line item category? I know the police department is up a little bit here, but again, we do have some things we pay at the beginning of the year, and that one is such a small dollar amount. Here's where you can see the insurance is at 74%. So that one is the one that's causing those large overages. Otherwise, at this point, I don't see anything to be concerned about.
As long as we're on expenditures, when we talk with departments and stuff, when you're looking at a big increase in fuel, do we talk about fuel conservation, like
To
Don't leave that vehicle sitting around for an hour, or even when we're looking at purchasing vehicles, do we need the V10, big super duty vehicle just to drive the supervisor around, to get by with an F10 hybrid, those are things in the future we need to look at, because there's this high price of gas, no matter who we blame it on, it's not gonna go away. And the fact that conserving gas, how many times do we need super duty vehicles when only one's hauling the trailer to the ball diamond? And I get it why we have it, but we can't, that's beyond us, that's past. We need to look at liability long-term. We have to assume that these fuel prices aren't just, this isn't just a little pickup, we're here forever. So like when each department is thinking about things, you need to have that in your mind. Maybe that's where part of the incentive, which departments save the most amount of fuels. I see this in, trucks got 4 or 5 guys who packed in there like and they do try to conserve already, but those kind of things gotta be part of the budget discussion every month, I think, where maybe offer an incentive for companies to like fuel. Driving lawnmowers and stuff from one end of town and then getting there and driving all the way back to get your lunch bag out of the cooler. Things like that, unnecessary trips. I'm not saying that any of the trips are unnecessary, but we all do it.
Right, and especially when gas is $1 a gallon, $2, you know what I mean? You
Well,
just don't think about it, you just do it.
Right.
So it's probably a great conversation for us to have at the department meeting on Tuesday, and we can have everyone sitting in our department and just bring up that discussion.
It's funny, a year ago, they were telling employees, they don't drive together with a COVID, so I'm doing that. Now it's on.
Pack 'em five in the truck.
Riding the back.
What do you want us
And
to
there's a
do?
variety of vehicles down there. You've seen them come in.
Right.
There's the F-150s that are lower. And then, yeah, we do have a couple of the super duties because we have plows on them for the winter and things like that. So there's a variety of things. And that might be something we got to look at balancing out because, like, for example, we take the hand-me-down police department SUVs, which we're using them up more. We're not buying another vehicle for like public works director and the rec side and stuff like that, but those are squads are a little bit higher of have an engine, more gas. So do we not take the hand-me-downs and do we purchase vehicles? I mean, there's that whole balancing act of things. So yeah. Or we just get everybody bicycles and
But you'd like that way.
Have the police patrol bicycles.
Mhm.
electric scooters.
Yeah.
All right, so with the expenditures, we're off to the revenue side. I did book the tax revenue. This is what I was talking about. So through February, we received about 2.7 million in our tax revenue. Received a quarter of our highway aids. Again, here at this point, I don't see any revenue that will go uncollected. One of the things Chad and I had a discussion about was permitting, and we're going to fine tune that a little bit before the 2023 budget cycle.
building
So,
inspection.
yeah, things of that nature. So
That's something we can
We'll
really
get that.
collect.
on our radar for 2023. But otherwise, I don't see any concerns at this time. Anyone have any questions on the revenue side? The library aid comes in, 6 months and 6 months. That's why there isn't any yet. So they're pretty, one of those things where it's the same every year. We collect at the same time every year. For shared revenue, part in July, most of it in November. So those are our revenues. Go back up this way because there's a lot of pages. Assigned and unassigned fund balance. When I was going through this and reviewing my packet before the meeting, I did notice that I did not update this. Last month, we talked about adding storm dollars to our capital projects reserve. So that's actually beginning balance should be plus 87,167. I did go in and make that change as I had it in front of me. Otherwise I might forget again. But I did notice that. So that adjustment will come next month, but otherwise there is nothing on here that has changed. You might want to take note that there are some boat launch funds here if you're thinking about anything in the department or in Park and Rec area. Downtown, probably going to suggest, and we'll do that at the end of the year, that the $50,000 for the sale of that building goes right here in economic development, but that will be a choice you guys can make at year end. We'll hold it till then. Nothing else changed. Any questions on any of those?
For the Newton Blackmore Trail, are we still gonna be paying for consulting this year?
Oh yeah, there's engineering. We're already in for that. So bids are out right now. I can't remember the bid date. We're accepting bids. I think it's on the 14th that bids are accepted for that project. So yeah, we are on the engineering is not eligible for the grant reimbursement, just the construction.
And we can utilize some of these dollars if we need to in this trail account for that purpose. And then we do have a little bit left up
I
here.
think that one's almost pretty much done. So we might have to tap into the down below in the trail ATC one coming forward.
Speaking of that, we do have actually some capital bonding money right here for the Newton Blackmore Trail. So some of the purpose of that money is also for that. So this budget within this bonding was $250,000. That was our portion. And we have not actually charged anything to this yet. So there's another area where we anticipate using money for that purpose. And I'm going to talk about this.
Okay. Wheel tax, I know it's February, but we've only collected through January because it's a year, or a month behind. So there's no actual expenditures happening at this point. I can talk about this helping out the same online with street construction. And then we're looking at bridge and some sort of we're looking at updating this list eventually. And again, I'm at the bonding schedule. Brush truck is actually estimated 150, coming in closer to 100. So there'll be some savings within that one. And the library roof is going to be put on off. We're not even sure when that roof is going to be completed. So we're waiting for the shingles to come in, not shingles, but tile. And then we let our trailer completed on here, and then we did take on a state trust fund loan. Part of that was $100,000 into the library project that will be paid out. This will not be paid out. It will be paid out in time as the project is being done. Talked to Anna a little bit today about that. Just a heads up into the future. We will be having. I didn't want to talk about the budget process that we went through, but we're going to have to go back and visit that. I don't know if we'll have to do the budget committee or won't, but that whole budget will be brought back But there, we do anticipate some of these bonding dollars left over and we will be moving them into our projects, which I've been wanting to update, but there's some moving parts right now. That I've been waiting until I can get some more solid numbers to come back, and thinking next finance will be the day that I can put that up. I'm sure Chad shared with you the revenue that we got for Oshkosh Street. Huge into that capital projects listing and revenue source that, so I'll be updating that. If we did have some revenue sources that didn't pan out, we were hoping to pan out, again, why we're gonna have some conversation about.
We'll do that next month. But we should have some dollars here. We were looking at utilizing some of this also for Lima Street projects, which I need to ask you what that new estimate was. So I can update that for next month too.
The bids will be
Oh, yeah, they're coming in.
the utility part, I think is next Wednesday, the bids opening, I believe, and then the asphalt part is on the last Thursday, I think, this month. So we will have bids for that project come around for the May meetings.
So I should have some new revenue sources, some new estimates to provide to you next finance meeting. And then we can just take a look at those road projects that are going to be completed over the next 5 years. Probably update. I think I have that on the website for people to take a look at. In case anyone inquires, what are we doing next, or, you know, what roads are being done.
And I think now that we got that grant, I was gonna talk to Jay, of have a meeting, you, me and Jay get together again and just talk about the cycles, you know, for all those projects now again. Let's get
Yep.
together and
Because I know he did see that original budget that we put together. So yes, that's a
What are
good
they
idea.
looking, what are they looking at for Oshkosh? Is that 25 for
for
Oshkosh Street?
ish. So I want to sit down with Jay and just make sure that, you know, we're all on the same page for cycles, because it doesn't only affect the city, it affects utilities. So I want to make sure we're all up and up. We have to use the funds by 2027 for that grant for Oshkosh, that $2 million.
Because we're tearing up the street. I don't know if we want to do that street at the same time you got the main street tore up, which is 24.
That'd be a lot, just for
25, yeah.
staff to keep track of what's going on. That, I would say no, because I would not want any other projects in the downtown, because we are gonna want to have a lot of staff focus on the downtown project, you know, communication with the downtown businesses and stuff. I wouldn't want us to
That's too much.
have way too much. That's gonna
Yeah.
be enough for us,
Yeah.
that project.
It'd be nice to get it all done right away as well, but it'd be a lot on our community to have everything tore up. I mean, nobody likes construction, and to do it all together for our community is stressful.
Are we gonna have enough money to do all these? I mean,
I
we
would-
get a grant. But a grant, what are we saying? 75% maybe that pays 80%? The
For which-
grant doesn't cover the cost to do the project, right?
Correct. This $2 million grant for Oshkosh Street was a 50% grant. The grant was up to a 90%. They must have diluted it enough that it looked like they awarded us 50% of the eligible costs. And when I say eligible, it's more of the roadway stuff. So sanitary sewer, things like that were not an eligible cost. And that comes out of the sewage fund budget anyway. But it was a 50% grant for the eligible expenses that we reported on the grant application.
We also will have some revenue dollars from TID 4
Mhm.
to go into Oshkosh Street. We had anticipated when I present that to you again next month, there is a lot of revenue sources going into these road projects over the next 5 years. In so much that the bonding that we originally anticipated in 2024 was, I believe, 6 million. And currently, when I take a look at all of the revenue sources that have come in since the first time that I presented that, we are closer to 2.5 million. We've actually, over the last course of a year, or whenever I presented that last, taken in additional revenue sources to help those projects. So everything that we can squeeze and push into there, we will do that. But again, we are anticipated, not saying we're not gonna take out 6 million, and I know you probably don't want to hear that, but depending on what else is going on at the time. But and then what happens to interest, there's a lot of other pressures going on in our world, as we know right now too. So when we go out and to bond for that, it will be interesting to see how those interest rates come in and things like that. So we want to keep ourselves real healthy and in good shape, knowing that we're going to be bonding in 2024. But again, we have some good revenue sources,
Yeah,
and that question will be answered for you next finance committee meeting, so that you can see it visually.
You had all this planned out, right, already? I mean, none of this is
No,
like
yes.
a new project that we've pulled out of the sky. This has all been planned with your bonding schedule over the next 15 years.
Correct.
So it's not like there's something that we decided, oh, we're gonna just tear up another street.
I'm just looking at the fact that we are getting so much infiltration and this crap into sewage, which is running our sewage plant up and beyond.
So the wastewater treatment plant fund is separate from,
Right.
and we are taking a look at what's going on. You will also be presented with all of that financial information as part of a rate study coming up here. Ben and I will be, and Chad will be working on a rate study, probably starting in June. I pushed it off to when I'm less busy in June. So I'm actually going to connect with the gentleman who's going to handle our rate study, because he's also part of our audit. He's not our auditors, but he's in the same firm, which should hopefully help with the connection of financial data, so that helps me not have to do as much of that pushing out of financial data, and then save us money for the sewage study itself, because they already have the information. But yes, I am in contact with him, and we were looking at June. But I just talked to Ben the other day, and I said we actually should connect in a Zoom with him at some point and talk about the scope of that. But so we'll be talking about that too.
But Mike, with these projects, I mean, the downtown project, we're looking at redoing laterals with the Oshkosh project.
Yeah,
would
these are
be
big.
Sanitary sewer and laterals, and those are directly, affecting and improving our I&I issues. So all these projects tie into each other to help those goals.
Yeah, we started doing these streets, we were able to get help for people who replaced their sewer and water from the curb box to the house. Are we doing that down in this district?
Down here, the sanitary sewer has been replaced. I think it was in the 80s. And so we are not replacing sanitary sewer with this project over here with the Avon, Lima, and Lima. The sanitary main and the laterals up to the property line, Ben tells me, has been replaced and is good. From the property line to the house, it does not sound like that was touched when they did that in the 80s. They should have, but they didn't. So Ben and I have been talking about what I'd like to see, and we could probably clean up a chunk of I&I by fixing those laterals, but it's all on the private side. So with this project, we weren't ready just to say, hey, we're going to start, coming in there and, change out your laterals and assess that. What I'd like to do is get a plan, say, okay, in 2 years or 3 years or something, our plan is to come in and replace the laterals from the property line to the house, give everybody heads up notice so they know it's coming, and then go through that assessment process. There's a resolution, there's a public hearing, we got to do all that, but we are not planning on doing laterals with this project.
Because we've still got some, also we've got lead services in town. That sooner or later, DNR is gonna come bite our bottoms to get them taken care of.
And Jay is working on that. Utilities are working on that,
All right, finance director's report. I apologize. I did forget to attach it to the packet, but it was sent out to you at the last minute, so if you wanna, I just put it up here. I didn't make copies of it because I figured it's just sitting in your inbox if you want to take a look at it. But just kind of goes through some of the things that I did, not everything in March, but I am mostly spend March working on the audit and getting ready for the auditors, including adding all of our fixed assets, which allows for our calculation of depreciation. We update our special assessments. So if we have a road project or anything of that nature, actually April and Missy work a lot on those assessments for me. And then I just look at them after they have finished their additions of those or subtractions. A few new ones were added for Warner Allen, not a lot this year. So they were on site last Thursday. I thought it went very well. April, Jill, myself and Missy, I know he was in Chad's office for a while visiting. They just like to come in. The in-person makes it easier for them. I'm sure with the Chad, they sat down and talked about a lot of the economic development things that were going on, the TID districts. And then we talk about the financial side of that on my end, but they also like to know what's going on within the city, what's changed from last year, make sure that that's all being acknowledged in that audit. I did attend an ARPA funding requirements from the US Department of Treasury. The first annual report for the money that we received is due at the end of this month. I think the hardest part for me is to get on the website. I'm still struggling. I actually sent Missy a little note and said, please help me. So somebody in our office is the main person that I need to, yeah, I need to get it. So we'll figure it out. I think once I get on the website, it shouldn't be too bad. But I spent some time on HR and payroll. Jill was out a while in March. So I had some of those projects to do. Attended the Outagamie Finance Committee meeting for TID 6. Chad was also in that meeting, and Phil Cossin. We needed their approval prior to TID 6. So that was before we met. So then I attended the joint review meeting on TID 6 and the committee was updated. There's no actual approval at that meeting. It's more of an update to the committee. This is what it's going to look like. And everybody's on the same page. I also attended our insurance company board meeting and their finance committee meeting via Zoom. And then I update all the financial data for you guys tonight. And then, like I said, I look through those budget reports and I analyze them and see if anything looks like we need to address. And that's that.
Great, thank you, Judy.
You're welcome.
Any questions? If not, I'd ask for a motion to adjourn.
A motion to adjourn.
Second.
I'll second that.